Good afternoon and welcome to Locked On NBA. On today's show, a certain lottery pick is showing out. Are there teams that should already be regretting not taking him earlier in the draft? Meanwhile, the Rockets are 2-0 to start the preseason. Are we buying them as contenders? Plus, Brooklyn's bold strategy is put to the test. You are Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to Locked On NBA. However you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. I'm Wes Goldberg, and today we're talking about whether the Rockets are legitimate contenders and what in the world the Nets are planning up in Brooklyn. We're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts, and as always, I have two of the best with me from the Locked On Nuggets podcast. He's senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
Great Heat Hawks game last night. Like an overtime preseason game is always a good time. Actually really enjoyed a lot of the action last night, including, again, I'll mention this, Taylor Hendricks, another really good game with the Jazz, very quietly. That kid looks like he might be a player.
We might be talking about the Jazz a little bit more today. Haize, the Bulls and Bears creator for Bleacher Report, also the host of Locked On Bulls.
I'm riding off a Bears 3-game winning streak. We haven't won out the bye week in like 4 years, so I'm riding the high right now.
It's been rough for Miami sports. I've got the Miami Dolphins doing a whole lot of nothing and calling each other out in press conferences. Matt's talking about an overtime Hawks game where the Heat literally threw the game away. So not riding as high as you, Haize, in terms of local sports. But we are in the final week of preseason basketball. So I want to start today's show with some preseason takes. We're going to call this early returns. Haize, I want to start with you. Has there been anybody who has stood out to you so far in this preseason?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been a few players that have stood out to me, but Ace Bailey has definitely stood out. I know there's some injury concerns there that the Jazz aren't too worried about, but I think Ace, with the way that he's performed, it's going to make some people regret passing on him. And I get it. The concern around his agent, who he's gotten away from, is legitimate. And, there are some character concerns. But when you just look at the raw talent of Ace Bailey, I think teams like the Charlotte Hornets are definitely gonna regret passing on him.
We'll see. There was a report this morning. He's dealing with tendonitis in both knees.
Mm-hmm.
It's not ideal. I mean, it's fine. It's just tendonitis. It's not a huge deal. But for a guy, I continue to kind of wonder, like, why are guys this young dealing with these kind of issues coming in? I just think it's that we continue to have the conversation about diversity of athletics early in these guys' career, not overtraining them on basketball. We got to continue having that conversation. For me, honestly, the big preseason takeaway outside of the Celtics being like, go look at Boston. I'm just telling you, Boston does not look like they're ready to be this big fallback team. That does not look ready. And then the other thing is Toronto, Phoenix, a couple of other teams are playing not full court press, but they're picking guys up across half court, 60, 75 feet of pressure. And I'm just really curious to see what impact that's going to have, because as we've drifted more towards point guards and guards who are primarily shooters, thanks Steph Curry, you are moving further away from guys I think that can handle the pressure. So I actually kind of wonder if turnover rate's going to be up early this season. I wonder how it's going to get officiated. Just some interesting stuff with some of the defensive trends we're seeing early in the season from squads.
Haize, that seems to be something that maybe teams are taking directly from the two teams that we just saw in the NBA Finals, right? We saw Indiana and Oklahoma City put a lot of pressure on ball handlers.
Yeah, I mean, I think every training camp, every media day, you kind of hear similar things talked about most teams, and it seems like teams are starting to lock back into defensively. Me and Matt have talked about this on this show basically since it started. Like, there's going to be an adjustment to the three-point shooting, and I think we're starting to see that. I'm not going to say we're going to see a huge change of it just in one season, but I think over the next 2-3 years, you're going to see defenses change and adjust to try to counteract what three-point shooting has become in the NBA. And I think that's the first step of it. A lot of teams talked about defense. The Bulls talked about it. A lot of other teams did as well. So if the defensive focus is actually followed up on as much as has been talked about in this offseason, we're going to start to see the renaissance of some defense.
defensive pressure is one of those new stats that Amazon's providing as part of the deal. So I'm actually like really interested to see those that get added to the stat sheet so we can actually start tracking what teams are applying pressure and how they do it. This is the kind of stat nerdistry I'm excited for. Haize, you need to get a drink of water, buddy. You can't choke up and die just because the Bears had the only good 3 weeks that they'll probably have this season.
No, I was more so dying off the fact that the person who sits here and caps for sub role players every day doesn't believe in Ace Bailey. That's what really choked me up.
I want to go back to the Ace Bailey point. I'm glad we're circling back here. Here are the top 6 players in the 2025 draft, in case people forgot. Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, VJ Edgecombe, Con Knippel, Ace Bailey, and Matt York, Trey Johnson. So, look, we know what last year's draft was. Not exactly flamethrowers there with Zachary Reese-Shea, Alex Sarr. It was sort of one of the more understated drafts in a long time. This draft, on the other hand, we knew it was going to be hyped. There was a point where we thought Ace Bailey would be the 2nd or 3rd overall pick in this draft. He drops all the way to Utah at number 5. But I don't know if there's going to be teams regretting not taking Ace Bailey, because I think a lot of these top 6 teams have to be pretty happy with the players that they got, just at least even based on stuff that we've seen in preseason and training camp. This is shaping up. If I was gonna do like early overreactions on this rookie class, this is shaping up to be one of the better classes that we've seen in a little bit.
I like this overreaction. I like this. It does look like it's going to be a really good class. Harper looks great. One of the things I think Knippel actually looks surprising. Like I am impressed, because I was kind of like, yeah, it may take Knippel a little while to settle in. He looks great right off the jump. Interesting thing I think with the Charlotte question there is, because the whole thing with Ace, it wasn't about his talent. It was about everything else. And if you're the Hornets, like you cannot have LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges and the culture they've had there for 4 years and then be like, here comes Ace Bailey. Can't do that. Can't do that. Utah, you can, because they'll just bore him until he'll bore all of the excitement out of him. So he's no longer difficult to deal with. So I kind of get it, but look, I think the talent is absolutely there. I mean, I'm interested to see if Bailey comes in and just like wins Rookie of the Year. Boy, is that going to be a story, Haize.
Yeah, it definitely would be. And I don't know if the narratives are going to get him there, but I think when you look at the teams that did pass on him, like, of course, we're not going to – Mavericks taking Coopers, they should have. The Spurs taking Harper, I'm not going to harp on that too much either, but the 76ers and the Charlotte Hornets, I think both those teams, especially the Hornets being a team – like you took Con Knippel and then Liam McNeely later. There's some very similar overlap there. I think if you would have took Ace Bailey and Liam McNeely, you could have had more contrast there with higher upside, not Con Knippel, but – you know, I think those teams are definitely going to regret it.
Ace Bailey leading all rookies who have at least played in one preseason game with points, with 16 points per game, also shooting 59% from the field. And that's including not a great shooting night the other night. That actually brought his shooting percentage a little bit down. If I can get into my preseason takeaway really quick, I think it's too long, guys. It's more than 2 weeks of preseason, and the rookies are playing. That's about it. It just seems that all these teams are spending 80% of the preseason just trying not to get injured. Some of these teams are playing 5 or 6 preseason games. Nobody's using the full preseason. You get, I don't know, teams mostly wait until the last game, maybe last 2 games for a full dress rehearsal. I don't know why we're doing so many preseason games. And no offense to the teams coming from overseas. Like, why are they here? Why is any of this happening? I think we should adjust it. It should be a full week of training camp. That's it. Then 2 preseason games per team. That's all you need. That's all they actually use and actually want. Just do 2 preseason games, 1 week, preseason over, jump into the regular season. Maybe all of this starts a little bit. Maybe you delay the start of media day and training camp by a week, extend the summer a little bit, or maybe even extend the regular season a little bit more so that you can maybe reduce some back-to-backs during the course of the regular season. Why is this 2.5 weeks for the preseason, guys?
It's simple, Wes. Hundreds of millions of ticket sales is the reason why that happens, because even though it's preseason, the money, that's why you have, like, and some teams, and it's no balance. Some teams are playing 4, some are playing 6 preseason games. Like, there's no balance. So I do agree. Like, I think 3 or 4 is probably the sweet spot, but you're not going to see it go down to 2 because of money, Wes.
They've already shortened it. This is crazy talk to me. We need 2 weeks of training camp. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Training camp should be longer.
The Nuggets played 4 days and then played a preseason game. How are you? We have no practice time in the NBA, and teams treat all of October and November as preseason, and it makes me insane. Be ready to go. Like, let's compete. Let's not warm up. if there is no greater sign of what we talk about in the show always, which is that they got to shorten the season, than this, which is they're literally like, yeah, we can blow off the first month of the season and basically just play like it's an extended training camp. No, like these games should matter. They count towards the standings. It decides tiebreakers and playoff standings. It could be the difference in you making or missing the postseason, being in the play-in tournament. Be ready to play. And
I agree.
Maybe that's the answer is like fewer games and more practice time, Wes. But like, I do not agree with shortening the preseason. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree that training camp should be 2 weeks of training camp. Like you can't even really call it a training camp. Some teams like they have their media day, training camps the next day, and they're playing a game 4 or 5 days later. Like I think there should be an actual training camp period. Nothing as extensive as the NFL. They have huge rosters of 80 and 90 people at the start that they need to get down, but I do think that the NBA would benefit from an actual just training camp period, then preseason, and then let's get to the regular season.
A lot of these teams treat these preseason games like walkthroughs, like that you'll see in the NFL sometimes, or just like, private scrimmages or something like that. And I don't know, 2 preseason games, 3 of them just go out, but like we don't need as much preseason games. I agree with Matt, more practice time because you're not getting it in the regular season. At least have a chance to install your playbook in more than just 3 or 4 days like these teams have been forced to do. But we're going to move on to our season previews. The Rockets hope that they've entered the tier of contenders. Do we feel better or worse after seeing them a couple times in this preseason? That's coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you're not going to want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, I've tried player props, I've even followed live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little bit something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off recognizing your or organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization on your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. Save smarter by finding better investments to help you build wealth, get rid of the pointless spending, and discover ways to cut costs and even find forgotten 401ks from past jobs. Maximizing investments, increasing your savings rate, easily reviewing finances with your partner and your financial advisor, keeping a clear view of your financial health week to week and the long term is all easier with Monarch Money. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA. We'll be right back. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube. Let's continue our team preview series, and we're going to go to Houston, where the Rockets are hoping that the addition of Kevin Durant will propel them into the mix of championship contenders. Here's Locked On Rockets host Jackson Gatlin with more.
The biggest question for this Houston Rockets team is, can they be legitimate title contenders with the addition of Kevin Durant? What's up? This is Jackson Gatlin, host of Locked On Rockets. And some might argue that the biggest question for this Rockets team is how they respond to the loss of Fred VanVleet. And I think that's a very legitimate discussion to be had. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Fred VanVleet is not the superstar of this team. That responsibility solely lies on the shoulders of one Kevin Wayne Durant. And look, when you add Kevin Durant to a team, the expectation is to win a championship. And that's what the Rockets are trying to achieve this season. Will Kevin Durant be able to elevate the rest of this group to legitimate title contention status? Will they be able to potentially dethrone the OKC Thunder? Will they be able to hold a candle to the newly revamped Denver Nuggets? How KD meshes with the other stars of this team like Alperen Şengün and Amin Thompson, and how that trio, that big three, grow and evolve throughout the year. That is the biggest question for the Houston Rockets.
Haize, you heard Jackson use Kevin Durant's full name there, middle name included. That means you know he's serious. But based on a 2-0 start to the Rockets preseason here, do you believe that the Rockets should be considered title contenders?
I mean, they have to show it. So as much as I am a Rockets guy, I think that it's easy to say based off, just the roster that you should be. The Rockets were a tough team. I think they're going to still be a tough team in the Western Conference, but losing Fred VanVleet is huge to that team that needs some leadership. You need that with Kevin Durant on your team. So I can understand people not wanting to label them title contenders yet. To me, that they are. I think that's the ceiling for them, is that they can still compete for a title in the Western Conference. But we've seen big acquisitions not necessarily work out before, so I can't blame anybody who doesn't necessarily view them as that, like my lovely co-host Matt Moore.
You have softened. You have softened up. Is it the Fred VanVleet injury that's really kind of gotten you to soften here a little bit?
Oh no, listen, I still firmly believe that the Houston Rockets are the second best team in the Western Conference, and they are going to be in the Western Conference Finals. I'm not ready to put them over the Thunder, but I firmly believe that.
Okay. I love the under on this team. They're like 53.5. It's a ridiculous number for a team that's not thrown together, but is so radically different. It's going to take them time. Preseason was looking at some numbers. My biggest thing with them is actually it's going to be about their offense and the 3-point rate. So their leaders in 3-pointers made per game in preseason are J.D. Davidson, Aaron Holiday. Jabari Smith Jr. is third. Now, Jabari can kind of pick up some of that slack, as can Reed, but I'm really worried about their 3-point rate. I think this is going to be a pretty sluggish, slow, low 3-point efficiency offense. They've got the 7th best offensive rating in the first halves of preseason games. I'm searching for like meaningful data points in preseason, and it's tough, but I'm just worried about it. I have concerns that I just think that their offense is going to make a lot of these games tighter than they need to be. Their defense, I think, will still be excellent, but I am just very curious about how much what the impact of the offense is going to be, what it's going to look like. And it could be as simple here as everyone's so focused on KD. For me, this season's about Alperen Sengun. That if Alperen Sengun is the guy that he was in Eurobasket, and they are putting him with cutters and slicers, then you can really kind of figure something out here, and your offense will be good enough that your defense will carry you, and they could be an elite team. But that to me is like, that's what the season rests on. KD is going to be KD. And that means that you can count on his production and efficiency. And you can't really say that he's going to have like a massive impact on how your team performs. He's like a great addition on top, but the synergy is very limited with how KD plays. So for me, this is about Alperen Sengun, and can he be the tide that lifts everybody up? If he can, then they will look like the team Haize thinks that they can be. But it's about Sengun to me more than any other player.
See, I think it's also about Amen Thompson. I think what we've seen when he was out there with KD, that it gave a lot of promise. But not to say it's not also about Alperen, but I think Amen and the step that he takes this year as further into a two-way player. We already know what he is as a defender. How much more refinement can he add offensively? How much more consistency can he add offensively? I think it's going to be huge for this team as well this season.
I just think it's so much to ask of a guy this young. Like he, in the GM survey, he was like all over that thing with expectations. He's one of the leaders for most improved player. Like the expectations are so high for this kid. And I don't like putting that kind of pressure on a guy who's primarily like came in the league as a defender and has to polish so much of his offensive game. Polish comes with time, reps, and experience. And he doesn't have that yet. I personally don't want to put too much pressure on him, because I'm just like, look, Amen's going to make an impact defensively. He's going to have some like great plays, but the consistency possession to possession is going to have to be Sengun.
And you've got Amen Thompson now being thrown into the deep end because of the Fred VanVleet injury. Yep. In addition to Thompson, you have Reed Sheppard having to start after basically not playing at all as a rookie. Didn't play much at all during the playoffs either. We asked Jackson Gatlin about Reed Sheppard and whether or not they need him to sort of break out here after Fred VanVleet went down.
By the end of the season, we are absolutely going to be talking about Reed Sheppard more than we ever have been. What's up? This is Jackson Gatlin, host of Locked On Rockets. And look, all signs right now are pointing toward a Reed Sheppard leap compared to what we saw out of him in his rookie season. It's, not a secret that he had a bit of a lackluster rookie year. Didn't really have a role, unfortunately, on this Rockets team. Wasn't ready for NBA action quite just yet. But there's a reason the Rockets took him third overall. There's a reason they're still so invested in him. There's a reason he was hands off, or off the table in the Kevin Durant trade discussions to begin with, right? The Rockets are so internally invested in his future and truly believe in what he can become as an NBA player. They see future legitimate star potential in him. At this point, I'd settle for just like a solid caliber rotation player. But this opportunity, for better or for worse, with the Fred VanVleet injury, will allow Reed Sheppard to showcase what he truly is capable of as an NBA player. And hell, he might even get the starting nod for the Houston Rockets this season.
Haize, I want to go to you for the final word here because I saw you reacting during Jackson's video there.
Words mean things. We got to stop saying a leap. Reed Sheppard didn't even look like an NBA player last year. To say that a leap, no, first of all, he needs to make a step on the NBA court and look like he can stay on the NBA court consistently before we can say he can make a second-year leap, because he gave you nothing last year. Nothing at all, not remotely. So, come on, man. I love him, but we got it. Words mean things. That drives me crazy. A leap from Reed Sheppard in year 2. He did nothing. Nothing in year 1. I'm sorry. I'm gonna shut up. Go ahead, man.
He's in the bog, so he's got to climb out of the bog first before he can leave. You can't jump when you're in swamp water. Look, it's preseason. I will just say that most of the starters have won their minutes. Reed Sheppard does not. Reed Sheppard has a 2 assist to 2.5 turnover ratio. Again, it's preseason. Okay, I'm not declaring things. What I am saying is this Fred VanVleet injury has repercussions, and Holiday to me or Sheppard rather, is a really good example of how this could hurt guys. He needs somebody to set the floor for him and not have to worry about that. Putting that responsibility on him could be detrimental to his confidence and could result in him being benched. And then I am concerned a little bit for Reed Sheppard.
Kevin Durant has won 2 championships. He's obviously ready to compete. That's why he's in Houston right now. He thinks that this roster can compete. Alperen Sengun looks incredible, has looked incredible basically since the playoffs last year, but it is a lot riding on a very young backcourt right now in Houston with Fred VanVleet down, and I understand why maybe some people get a little nervous because of it. Speaking of youth, the Brooklyn Nets made headlines this summer for their bold strategy in the draft. Will it work out for them? We'll talk about that next.
Bold strategy.
See if it works out for him, Cotton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how the Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and more efficient. The swivel screen is a game changer. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. And the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You get the workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level every week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. All right, let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets, where the Nets drafted 5 rookies in the first round in June's draft, leaving a lot of people around the league to question, is 5 rookies too many rookies? So we asked Eric Slater of Locked On Nets about their strategy.
Eric Slater from Locked On Nets here, outlining the biggest question of the Nets 2025-26 campaign, and that is, will these Brooklyn rookies show promise during their first NBA season? Sean Marks in this Brooklyn front office obviously drew heat for their decision to make an NBA record 5 first-round picks in this year's draft, including 3 international point guards. And Nets fans watching these rookies should just be looking out for, do their top traits translate to the NBA level? And that doesn't mean that they're playing great out of the gate or they're having an immediate impact on winning. It means, do their top skills, do they play against NBA level competition? For Yegor Dioming, the passing ability, the court mapping, does that translate to the NBA level? For Nolan Traore, the advantage creation, getting downhill, can he do that against NBA competition? Same thing for Ben Saraf. Can Drake Powell defend and match up with some NBA level scorers in spurts? And Danny Wolf, can he flash some of that pick and roll playmaking and offensive funkiness that he did at Michigan? So can all those things translate to the NBA level? Do these rookies show promise? Top question of the Nets' upcoming season.
Matt, I want to start with you. Will Brooklyn's decision to draft a third of their roster in the first round in June work out for them?
Yes, because the goal is to get as good of a draft pick as possible this year. Joseph Tsai over the weekend had a comment that was very transparent about where they are at. Like, he effectively just said, like, he said, you can tell what direction we're taking, what our strategy is this season. I think Sean Marks is a good executive. I think not being able to turn those picks into something was a failure. Like, that's your job, is you've got to be able to convert those. Even if that just means like, hey, we'll swap out this pick for a role player. Hey, we'll swap out this pick for 2 picks in the future. Do something with them so you're not bringing these 5 guys in, because it's like they not only took 5 guys, they took positional redundancy and guys that weren't necessarily like, ooh, what a steal. Like, no one, when you draft that many guys and you don't hit a single guy, everybody's like, oh man, that was a great get. That's really concerning. They've got no veteran leadership to try and teach these guys how to play, because like, your leaders are Cam Thomas, who's going to be looking to get paid after his feud with the Nets front office over his contract this summer, and Michael Porter Jr., who is there for the podcasting. So like, the biggest thing is, I don't mind the Nets tanking. I mind this approach, because I'm just like, this is not good. This is not putting young guys in the best position to succeed.
I mean, if we're talking about strategy, that's what we're talking about, a strategy. Direct quote from the Nets owner: "We have 1 pick in 2026, and we hope to get a good pick, so you can predict what kind of strategy we will use for this season. We have a very young team." That's the strategy. All this talk about the young players, that's all fine and dandy. Like, I hope they develop them. That's great, cool. You got NBA champion Michael Porter Jr. there for your leadership. That's all good. But the strategy of the Brooklyn Nets is, we're going to be bad, but we're going to be so young that we can't be accused of tanking, because these guys don't know what they're doing yet, and thus we're going to get another high pick in a deep draft. That's the strategy for the 2025-26 season for the Nets.
If I could play the devil's advocate for the reason why you draft 5 rookies in a single first round, the Brooklyn Nets wanted to have a top 5 pick in this draft, and they didn't, right? They won a few too many games. They end up picking 8, and then a bunch of other times in the first round. And so they say, you know what? Chances are not all these guys are going to hit anyway, so we don't really care about what position they are. Let's just throw as many things at the wall as possible and hope something sticks, and maybe we get a co-star after we tank our way there. I don't know how much I believe that. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. My one prediction is that Brooklyn will lead the league, not only lead the league in turnovers, but they might break the record for turnovers in a season, because wow, there's a lot of young guys that don't know what they're doing here.
Yeah, but I do want to kind of note that, look, we thought this team was going to be absolutely wretched last year, and they weren't good by any stretch of the imaginations, but they were 1, 2, 3, 4. They were 5th worst in net rating. And that's way better than you would have expected with that roster. Like, Jordi Fernandez got good minutes out of guys like Tyrese Martin, like G Leaguers. There were guys when they came through Denver. Like, I'm a sicko. I'm on here like talking about Oso Ighodaro, and yet they came through Denver, and I was Googling people mid-game, being like, whom am I watching? Like, who is this person? Like, I did not know these people existed before I watched them play basketball. But the problem was, like, then I watched them and I was like, he's got some shake. Like, that guy's not bad. Like, Jordi Fernandez does really well. Like, I'm not going to be surprised if it's like, I don't know how, but like, the Nets are not the worst team in the league. Like, I would actually expect the Nets not to be the worst team in the league, because again, whenever we think it's going to be this team, they aren't. They always kind of exceed expectations. This might be the example.
But
hey,
Matt,
yeah,
that's when there's actual NBA players on the roster. Like these are kids. Half the roster can't drink. Half the roster cannot go to a bar and get a beer right now, Matt.
Cam Thomas, Michael Porter Jr., Terrence Mann, Nick Claxton, Haywood Highsmith, Zaire Williams, Daron.
So far, I hear a collective 45 games played between some of those players. Yeah,
it's not. Look, I can't make a serious argument here. I really can't. Is this roster worse than the process Sixers, Haize?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Is this roster worse than the process Sixers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think so. I mean, you're going to have Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas. If I'm not mistaken, both those guys are in contract years. They're just going to be getting up shots.
We've mentioned Michael Porter Jr. a couple of times here. That's sort of the big swing addition that the Nets, I suppose, will point to here. He's been pretty vocal since arriving in Brooklyn. We asked Eric if MPJ will be a hero or a villain by the end of the season in Brooklyn.
Eric Slater of Locked On Nets here answering the question, will Michael Porter Jr. be a hero or a villain for Brooklyn fans this upcoming season? And I lean towards the former. I think hero might be a little strong, but I view MPJ as a player who can really help out these Nets rookie ball handlers in Yegor Dioman, Nolan Traore, and Ben Saraf. Being a 6'10" sharpshooter and elite three-point shooter, I think that floor spacing will open things up for those rookie point guards and make their lives a little bit easier. And also, I think MPJ is going to have some struggles out of the gate in an expanded role as a ball handler, as a pick-and-roll guy, an isolation scorer, some of those things. And I think that those struggles could lend themselves to maybe some Nets losses out of the gate, along with these Brooklyn rookies having a heavy role, handling the ball. And I think those losses will really serve to help boost this Nets team's draft positioning in a year where securing a top draft pick is going to be a huge priority. So MPJ, I think that he'll have multiple positive impacts on this team this coming season. I think Nets fans will enjoy the ride.
Matt, Michael Porter Jr., watched him up close in person for years. Are you buying him as a positive influence in Brooklyn for these young guys?
No. Under no circumstances. Okay. Here's what I'll tell you. I don't agree with almost anything that Michael says off the court on any of these podcasts and these issues. And that's not none of this is surprising to anybody that covered the Nuggets. But I will say that as a basketball player, as a professional, I don't really have anything but positive things to say about Mike. Mike wants to play. He loves basketball. He has to go through a lot just to be able to play, and he does so. He should not be playing as many games as he has, and he has done it because he genuinely loves to play. He works hard to be in condition, even with his back injuries, to be able to play. He is a great shooter, and he has a lot that he does bring something to the game. There is a professionalism to Michael Porter Jr. that is not expressed in all of this nonsense. He's going to play loose this year. He's going to have some really huge nights and some awful nights. But I will say that there are worse things than seeing how much Michael Porter Jr. gives to the game. But as far as a leadership capacity, especially with the off-court stuff, I can't say that's a good look.
Yeah, here's the thing. Michael Porter Jr. has played off Jokic and Jamal Murray basically the entirety of his career, unless they were hurt. And now going into a situation where you're looked at to do more, and you're playing off of Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton and Igor Dimon and those type of things, you're going to really get to see who and what Michael Porter can be in this, whether he's playing for next contract or not. I don't know how that's going to go. But no, he's not a terrible basketball player. When Michael Porter Jr. is healthy, he's been pretty damn good. But it's the role is completely different, and that's going to be the part in this that you could see some frustration from him. You could see some frustration from the fans. But the ultimate goal here, and everybody should be, as far as hero or villain, you want that pick. And in that case, I think he's going to be a hero in that because he's going to help you have the best chance to secure that pick.
If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. We're going to see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.